Hello everyone, Validation X145 here with the final gameplay of Combat Arms that I have recorded. This time we are playing on Sector 25. Some of you who watched my rant video, you may recognize this footage. It is the same. As I said in my first episode, I was going to repost this gameplay with completely new commentary, and that's what I am doing. Nice little sniper kill. Sector 25 is a bit more of an interesting map than Oil Rig, I think. You only have 3 ways, really, to get through to the other side. But there are passages that interconnect the 3 ways. And there's lots of places where you can set up defenses, and boxes, of course, that are destructible. And, yeah. Sector 25 is a lot more simple than Oil Rig is, but at the same time it's also more complex. There's a lot of places to hide, there's a lot of places to take cover from enemy fire, and a lot of places to sneak up on people, even though it doesn't look like it. Like right there, you wouldn't expect someone to come around that corner in the split second that you walk up there. And that actually happens pretty often. But, yeah, more lag, I know. Sigh. Oh well. But anyway, I will be talking about something not quite related to combat arms. Why did I throw that grenade when he was already dead? But anyway, I will be talking about earthquakes and the weather. For those of you who have been paying attention to the news, you know that the East Coast was hit by a earthquake a couple days ago. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. I don't remember. But yeah, that was interesting. But it wasn't scary. I guess it may be because I'm from California and earthquakes are normal there, or considered normal, and hurricanes are considered normal here, but I don't know. Earthquakes, first off, occur a lot less frequently than hurricanes do, and the damage, or the times where it really has, you know, a lot of power behind it, is much smaller than a hurricane. A hurricane can go all around the coast. A hurricane can go up the entire East Coast and wipe everything in its path. An earthquake is only going to destroy a smaller area where the epicenter is, and if it's even strong enough. Because half the time, you know, it's only like a 4-pointer or something. This last earthquake was a 5.8 on the Richter scale. And even then, that's not exactly the strongest earthquake ever. There was not much damage to most of the houses that were affected by the earthquake. And I think the cathedral in Washington was really the most affected by it. And even though it wasn't anywhere near the epicenter, so one of those life's little mysteries. But that's another thing about geology and geography. The slates, the tectonic plates under the East Coast, unlike the West Coast, are made of very worn rock. You know, it's old, it's compact, it's very sturdy. You know, it's not gonna do much. So when it starts rubbing and it finally breaks and releases a whole bunch of energy, the earthquake is a lot sturdier. It covers a much larger area, with a lot less power than ones out in California and Oregon and whatever on the West Coast. Earthquakes there, not earthquakes, tectonic plates there are a lot more dangerous than the ones out here, out east. They're made of sand. They're much newer, and they're made of sand. So they can put out a lot more pressure in a much smaller area, and so it's not going to be felt near as much, but it's going to be a lot more destructive than out east, where the rocks are going to keep themselves pretty solid, and they're not going to be ripping each other apart, and they're not going to be making a whole bunch of shock waves. So that's physics for you. But I like I said before, just recently, I don't understand why people are so afraid of earthquakes out east, and yet at the same time, a hurricane is just another weather event to them. We've grown such a fear of something that's really not all that dangerous, for the most part. You know, very powerful earthquakes like the one that shook Japan a couple months ago, those are very rare, especially out east. And hurricanes are annual, and they come in masses and destroy a lot more than the average earthquake would, which is usually about like 3, 4, somewhere around there, where it's shaking everything up, but it's not destroying anything other than whatever it knocks off shells that's fragile. Whereas a hurricane, it's constantly ripping off rooftops, and that's just one hurricane. And hurricanes can also form tornadoes within themselves and become, you know, great thunderstorms, as well as having incredibly high winds and their little mini tornado friends and all of that stuff. So hurricanes are a lot more destructive, and they come in much larger numbers than earthquakes do. So I really don't understand when you just have a little tremor why everyone runs outside and is scared half to death. Because there was a 3 point something on the Richter scale, or a 5.8, or a 5.9, I guess it depends on where your source is. But it really doesn't matter. Well, I guess it does matter. But I don't see why we're so worried about an earthquake. It's not that bad. I mean, if stuff was falling off the shelves, I would have run. I didn't even run outside, actually, because stuff was just shaking a little bit. It wasn't that bad to me. I mean, on the other hand, down in Mineral City, Virginia, you know, it was hit kind of hard. It wasn't that bad. They did have some structural damage. There were a couple buildings that were condemned. Unfortunately, some of them were houses dating back to the Civil War, so that's a bummer. But, you know, I haven't heard of any deaths yet. There were some injuries, but most of them were not that bad. It's a bit like one occurrence in a book by Michael Crichton, Airframe. In Airframe, you got this company who builds 757 planes, jet planes, I believe. And what happens is a plane goes down. One of the engines, as it's taking off, explodes, and it has to come back down. People on that ride are scared to death, but no one was injured, no one was killed. Nothing bad happened to them other than they got a little heart palpitation. And because of the safety measures that company used to take to make sure that the passengers would be safe, they ended up being able to tell this whole story about being scared half to death because an engine suddenly exploded and erupted in smoke. That was some lousy sniping, by the way. And yet, this company is getting pressured by the press pretty much to be shut down because of this one incident where no one was hurt. So, I guess an earthquake and an airplane are a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same principle. We're getting scared over something that is far less dangerous than something that we're used to, I guess, out here on the East Coast, when we should be afraid of it. So I really don't understand that logic. So, well, that's the end of the gameplay, pretty much. I got a few more seconds left on the timer. So I gave up at this point, and I decided to just leave. So I will be doing more gameplay of different games, not Combat Arms, right after this. I will be gone for the weekend, though, so, you know, nothing from me. But I will see you guys later. Have a great day.